Hey guys, what's up? It's Eric. I'm sitting in a hotel in the UK in Manchester right now. Normally I'd be back at my shop in Los Angeles shooting these videos, but I'm traveling. But there's been a really interesting update in the VW TDI scandal, so I wanted to bring that to you guys really quickly. And hey, welcome to RevMatch. I don't know if you've been following along with the story, but I'm going to put some links below and up in the card here to the last couple pieces of the story. It'll bring you up to speed on what's been happening. Okay, to bring you up to speed really quickly, there's been a scandal going on with the American government, the EPA, and Volkswagen. VW has been accused of cheating with their diesel cars by installing software that will allow the car to tell when it is being tested for emissions, so that it lowers the emissions while it's being tested. When it's out in the real world and driving around, the emissions are about 40 times higher than the standards permitted. So here's the story that just broke yesterday as reported by the New York Times and USA Today. The former senior emissions compliance manager at VW has been arrested by the FBI in Miami on charges of attempting to defraud the United States government. Whoa. This is a really significant development in the story. This guy's name is Oliver Schmidt, and apparently he was the top emissions compliance manager at VW from 2012 to 2015. The criminal complaint against this guy says Schmidt knowingly participated in a conspiracy to defraud the United States by impairing and impeding the lawful functions of the EPA. He's also been charged with violating the Clean Air Act by essentially trying to cover up VW's specific role in this. Back in 2014 and 2015, Schmidt was working directly with regulators, and at the time, he said there was no special software installed designed to cheat the emissions testing. He blamed the problems on technical difficulties, technical issues with the car. However, in September of 2015, Schmidt actually admitted that VW had installed software designed to cheat the emissions testing process by lowering emissions only when the car was being tested. So at least to me, it's pretty obvious that the fact that VW initially lied and then delayed and then finally admitted that the cars were cheating, this is what prompted the regulators to go after VW pretty aggressively. What's that smell? Ooh, that smells like a cover-up. What is interesting about the story is that back earlier in 2015, the FBI actually arrested an engineer that worked at VW by the name of James Lang, and he agreed to cooperate with investigators in exchange for a reduced sentence. Now, what's interesting about this story is that Schmidt is actually not the first guy at VW to get arrested. Earlier in 2015, there was an engineer by the name of James Lang, and he has been cooperating with the government in exchange for a reduced sentence. And there's also two other witnesses that are unnamed. I believe both of them are also VW employees. I think one is an engineer as well. So those two witnesses have agreed to testify or have agreed to cooperate with the government in exchange for immunity, which means they will not be prosecuted. So we've got this James Liang guy, we've got two other witnesses that are cooperating with the government. What this tells me is that there's a lot more to the story that is going to come out over the coming weeks and months. It seems pretty obvious that the government is investigating at a much higher level what's going on or what's been going on at VW with respect to this emissions cheating software, and I think the government is probably going to try to prove a conspiracy at a much higher level. The fact that they already arrested the Schmidt guy, he's a pretty senior executive, tells me that there's probably more to come in this scandal. VW and auto manufacturers have clearly been put in a very difficult position. What they're trying to do is sort of balance two conflicting things. There is the standards for nitrous oxide, which have been reduced every year, and also fuel economy standards have been going up. So you've got two conflicting standards that are difficult to rectify. Typically what happens is that when you try to increase fuel economy, if you run the engine lean, you're going to increase nitrous oxide. The way VW and other manufacturers have been dealing with nitrous oxide emissions is that they have installed a capture system on the vehicles. This capture system requires an additive be added to a tank every 10,000 miles or something like that, which is something called AdBlue in VW's case. So AdBlue is urea, and what it does is it interacts with the nitrous oxide coming out of the exhaust pipe. And before it goes all the way out the tailpipe, the urea interacts with the nitrous oxide and turns it into just nitrogen and oxygen coming out of the tailpipe. As far as I know, the commercial trucking industry, which is almost entirely made up of diesels, these are large diesel trucks, this has far less regulation than passenger vehicles. And you've got all these diesel trucks rolling around North America that, as far as I know, are putting out far higher emissions in terms of nitrous oxide, particulate matter, and all kinds of other things than these diesel cars on the road do. So you've got the EPA, which is highly regulating passenger cars, and you've got the commercial trucking industry, which is not very regulated. And the EPA is ostensibly regulating passenger cars with the aim of lowering emissions. But you've got the commercial trucking industry, so I don't quite understand how this all works. Clearly VW and other manufacturers have been put in a very difficult position by this, but in terms of lowering emissions from vehicles on the road, my guess is that the commercial trucking industry is cranking out way more emissions than any VW car or any passenger car running a diesel motor is. Sorry if there weren't a lot of fancy graphics or fancy editing in this thing. I'm actually on vacation. I just wanted to crank out this video really quickly for you while I'm in the hotel room, and still there's a little bit of light outside. I want to go outside and enjoy the beautiful city of Manchester. So I'm going to go out and enjoy the city right now. Hit my ugly face over there if you want to subscribe and see more of these videos. In addition to these kinds of videos, I also do really cool stuff with cars. I love to go racing in them. I've got some cars that I'm busy modifying and building, so check out those videos as well, and I'll see you guys in a couple days.